Hey everybody, Edo here, and this is Wreck Raiders by Kids Table Board Gaming, and it is live on Kickstarter now. I have the box because the cover is part of this game, and I have to say, just to start out, Josh Cappel is absolutely at the top of his game right now as an artist and graphic designer. He has just hit on his style, which is colorful but sophisticated and interesting. The look is fantastic, and he's really good at graphic design and rules, and this game is just exemplary of his style, and the fact that these folks at Kids Table Board Gaming, and for what it's worth, Burnt Island Games, are showcasing it is just stellar. So impressed. Bravo, sir. Keep up the good work. So, Wreck Raiders is a interesting game where I was putting the cover up, but we're going to need it. There's a box cover here. Players are going to roll dice into it. This is going to just start. They're going to be placed. You'll see, and they're not going to move around because they'll be on the table. But in this box, there are some positions. If you land in any of those boxes, you are going to put the die within it. Otherwise, the dice just sort of sit around in the box. And again, you're not going to have it in your hand. You'll have it on the table. And what you're going to do as players, each player has your own little treasure gallery, and you are going to be picking a die. If the die is in one of those squares, you'll get a free token, but if it's not, you'll just get the number, and based on that number, you can go to different places on the board. You can either go to shore and in the appropriate numbered spot, so if that was a 5, be a 5 and collect those tokens. Tokens are useful. Or you can go diving and collect an appropriate token from a treasure from the location. So that was a 5. Whoop, I get this treasure into my board, and I'll talk about that in a second. Let me put this down. This game is worker placement with bumping. So the way it works is if and comboing. If somebody has a 5 and takes the same spot, they'll bump me, and then I'll actually move up to the beach, which is neat for me and not so neat for them. So there's this bumping dynamic, but in addition, if you land a dude next to another person, say now we're over here later on in the game, and blue comes in on 2, blue is going to get that treasure, but adjacent players are also going to get that treasure. So yellow is going to get that treasure, and purple is going to get that treasure. A better play, though, maybe perhaps over here, if blue was like this, blue could go and get 3 treasures because you get the guy who went and the 2 adjacent. So you're working to maximize how many treasures you get by where you place in the different treasure zones, and people are trying to sort of draft off of each other as you go. So what's all the set collection about? Well, there's a lot of different ways to score points and build sets here. So one, there are these museum cards, and you're fulfilling these cards, and they require certain treasure types. As you get treasure types, if you want to use them towards a museum, you put them on your board and you build them out. If you have the correct set but not the correct order, you just get the gold points, sort of victory points for the end of the game. However, if you get them in the correct order, you get a bonus, whether it's a seashell or one of the tokens or even one of the aquarium things I'll talk about. So you're trying to do it in the right order. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but that's A. So sets, and ideally in the right order. Over here in your vault, or whatever they call this, here you're flipping these over and they all have little nice art, and you're trying to get set types in the row and then different types of unique objects to get more points. So you get points for having the complete row and different types of objects and within a set. So here's a vase, but there might be more than one vase. Also, as you build, you have to stack on top of each other, so to get to higher rows, you have to have lower rows as you build your way up. So, I'm going for big sets over here for big rewards. I'm going for little, I'm using my excess points over here to just get bonuses. The other thing is I have all these little baubles and or seashells or skulls. The beach is full of like starfish, seashells, and skulls. And those are used for a variety of things. One, you can use them to build your own aquarium. And you buy aquarium tiles, you buy from the bottom of the aquarium and you work your way up into the middle. You can make it as tall as you want, and then if you cap it with a top, the top gives you a set collection within it. And you can also use these, starfish can be used to turn any tile into a wild tile to help you get that set. Skulls can be used to manipulate dice up or down 1 point. or as bonuses when you're collecting your museums. And starfish can be used to get you a bonus, to cover up museums. Seashells can get you a bonus tile when you are finishing a museum or collecting from a treasure. So a lot of different things. It takes a little work to grok, but it works pretty well. There's a good iconic reference at the bottom. I do think they could use a reference card in general, though. As much as it's covered here, I do think a nice graphic reference card would be helpful and it would work. So there's a lot going on here. I think this is a rock-solid game. I don't think it's a perfect game, but it's super solid. Like, everything works. I really like the dice drafting, where you're bumping, how you're thinking about sets versus baubles versus it's there. It just sort of feels like maybe one system too many. Like, it's a lot of stuff going on. Here are my main quibbles with it. One, I'm not a huge fan of using box tops for rollers, especially when they're big. It just ends up being a big game and a lot of desk space or table space. And I'm just not that huge a fan of it. It could have been integrated differently, but it works. And some people love the idea. It's like super, neat. That got me a little bit. Two, this game is best with 3 or 4 players. I think additional rules are needed for 2 players. There's just not enough player interaction in the treasure hunting to make it as interesting as it is with 3 or 4 players. It is a significantly more engaging game with more players. I've made some suggestions. I'm sure they're working on it. I think there are some things you could do to just boost 2-player in this game. You also just end up having, like, it's nice to have a lot of different choices, which this game is full of. But in some ways, the aquarium building just seems like another game that you're working towards with these baubles. And it's just a lot to track and manage, and sort of where and when you want to push your points and build efficiencies is something you got to work on. Again, this game is rock solid, excellent execution, beautiful. I think it could just be tuned and cleaned up a little bit more just to be amazing. But this team is pretty awesome, so I suspect they're going to keep improving it along the way and get there. And I don't know what stretch goals or other improvements are planned. So this is Wreck Raiders, and it is live on Kickstarter. Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.